little over a year ago, I sat in the Herman Hall, right over there, in a big circle filled with our teens. Now, we lowered the lights, Spike led us in a song, we opened the floor to let them say what they needed to say after 4 students had been murdered and 7 other students shot at Oxford High School right down the road. One by one, our precious children shared stories of their trauma, of sitting in their beautiful classrooms, in their brand new school building, thinking about the fact that their walls were made of glass, wondering where they would hide, since turning off the lights and lining up in the back of the room wouldn't work. Could they make it to the library, to the bathroom? Could they lock those rooms from the inside? They talked about growing up as children in the aftermath of Sandy Hook, of never-ending drills, cowering in the dark, learning to run and hide and fight, to practice enough to make it second nature. They talked about coming of age just in time for Parkland, seeing the faces of those 17 kids and recognizing themselves and their friends in those faces, and pushing through that terror and just going back to school the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. And when it was my turn to speak, I shared my story of being home with the flu freshman year of high school during the Columbine shooting, of watching it unfold on live television, before Twitter and social media, before smartphones and police scanners on the internet, about how sorry I was that that moment of absolute horror, of national shock and suffering and trauma wasn't the end, because it should have been. And how sorry I was that we had not protected them, that despite trying our best, it just wasn't enough. It was a difficult night, and it was a healing night too. All of us grateful that we had this safe and loving space for these kids to share their feelings, a space where they could say these things without worrying they'd terrify their parents or be made fun of, because they trust each other here, and they trust us and you and Temple Israel. And after they left, I sat here in this building with our then youth director, Rachel, who had been one of those teens just a handful of years before, and we just cried and cried for these kids who we love, all of our kids who are drowning in this, and their parents, and all of us drowning together in this flood of never-ending violence. And so when the news of the shooting broke on Monday night, after a wonderful evening with our teens here in the building, prepping for Purim and packaging sweet gift baskets for our friends at JARC, I couldn't help but think of those kids in that circle, so many of them brand new students at MSU this year. It's hard to know what to say tonight, what to offer you, my wonderful friends, who come here to Temple to be comforted in times of trouble. It's hard to know what to say that hasn't already been said time and time again, after Sandy Hook, after Parkland and Uvalde and Oxford, over and over again. And it's hard sometimes not to despair, remembering the swelling hope that we felt marching in the streets of Washington, D.C. with 50 of our teens and 1 million others, feeling that surely now the tide had turned, that surely the raised and powerful voices of our country's youth simply could not be ignored. And yet here we are tonight. I want to share with you a conversation that I had this week with my friend, Rabbi Wendy Geffen, who reached out. She serves at North Shore Congregation Israel in the suburbs of Chicago. Wendy's community was touched by the mass shooting at the 4th of July parade this past summer, in which 7 were murdered and dozens shot, including an 8-year-old member of her congregation whose spine was severed by a bullet. She said that in her darkest moments, she held fast to the idea that we cannot take responsibility for the evil in the world, that it's not our fault that the laws haven't changed, that people are violent and evil, and that children are harmed, that we can march and scream and write and vote and do our part, but shouldering the burden of these tragedies, saying never again, is a wasteful prayer. Instead, what moved her and her congregation toward healing was asking people to think about to whom or what they belong. and I was really moved by this idea. So I want to take a moment for each of you to consider it yourselves. To whom do you belong? To your children, your parents, your partner, your friends, your teammates, your students? Who lights up in your moments of joy, and who is shattered when you suffer? Who are the people you feel with, the people you care about? Who are your people? And where are your communities? Where do you feel safe? Where do you feel needed and known? We have here one of the most powerful, connected, loving communities that exists in this world. I really believe that. Where else do you know everybody at Trader Joe's? Where else in 2023 does a major metropolitan area feel like a small town gym on a Friday night? Where else does the whole community rally around people in need, both at home and from afar, showing up, reaching out, giving time and energy and expertise and money and love for the good of each other? We are bound together, not by this trauma, not by this shooting, not by pain and fear. We are already bound together by the strength of our relationships with one another, by our celebrations and our growth, by our strong sense of justice, by our shared values and our deep love, not only for our own children, but for each other's children as well. We belong to each other and with each other, and we are not alone. And it is for that reason that we will come through this to the other side. I want to give some space tonight to a few of our MSU students. Some have returned to campus, some are not yet able to stand in front of a group of people and speak just yet, and some may never be. But for those of us in the room who love these young people, we owe it to them to really hear what they have to say. And now these are early days, and they'll need us in lots and lots of ways. But today, now, we can honor their experience, their trauma, and their unbelievable strength by listening to their words. So I'd like to invite Ashley Lynch, who sang so beautifully just a moment ago, Hannah Charlip, and Alli Vanderaue to join me at the pulpit now.
Parents shouldn't fear for their children's lives after sending them to the battlefield that our classrooms have become. What should be a sanctuary for education has become a symbol of fear. This is not normal. What my friends and I had to see and will never unsee is not normal. Burying your classmates is not normal. Being scared you will not make it out of class alive is not normal. I'm so thankful that my friends and I are safe, but a part of each of us will remain behind barricaded doors for the rest of our lives. A part of us will always be searching for the nearest exit every time we enter a room. A part of us will always be afraid. We must fight for change. We deserve to go to school without fearing for our lives. We deserve to grow old.
I am a survivor of a mass shooting. It's hard to put into words how scared I felt in that moment, how scared I was, not knowing where or how my friends were, and scared to text my parents the text that every parent fears. My eyes are open and I'm here, but all I can see are the ambulances lined up and the police lights and the sirens that were all across the street from my apartment. I'm not ready yet to talk about what I saw as I looked out my window, sitting with my friends the other night, but I am ready for what comes next as I hold my gratitude close. To push our country to prioritize our lives, to keep us safe, and to care about our futures. Hold your loved ones a little bit closer.
I'm grateful to have spoken at the vigil this past weekend. I'm grateful again to be able to speak with you all now. Michigan State University has been my home and my happy place for the past 4 years. To say that we are heartbroken is an understatement. My friends and I saw things that we should never see in a lifetime, let alone at such a young age that will haunt us for who knows how long. I am a senior who should be enjoying the last of my couple months at school, having fun with my friends, but yet here we are. I'm hurting, I'm shocked, I'm scared, but I will not stay silent. Together as a community, we will fight for what is right, and we will try and heal. We will hold each other and support each other in these dark times. We will stand together and remember the victims and everyone that was involved. We will pray for the families, our loved ones, and everyone connected to the Spartan community. We are in this together, and we will ground ourselves in courage and strength. And I just want to end with something. There's a saying that has stuck with me for a while now that kind of reminds me to enjoy the happy times and to remember that the bad times will pass. Something I actually wear with me all the time now, and it's Gam Ze Ya'avor, which means this too shall pass.
If I had known she was going to use that piece of text, I would have, I picked a different one. Kol ha'olam kulo, gesher tsar ma'od. My friends, the whole world is a very, very narrow bridge. And each of us is trying so hard to balance, to walk that path all the time, every single day. But Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav teaches us, V'ha'ikar lo lefached klal, the essence, the most important part of our humble existence is not to be afraid. Not because fear is a bad thing. It's not. As Rabbi Jen Lader wrote after the Boston Marathon bombing in her backyard, fear teaches us, it guides us, it compels us, and it protects us. Rather, perhaps we should try not to be afraid in times of uncertainty, in liminal moments just like this one, because fear isolates us. It prevents us from connecting and causes us to shut out the world. Tonight, let us open ourselves up to the power of each other, of belonging, of living, of loving, of serving, of mattering, of existing. May we walk into this future, arms linked together. May we go from strength to strength, grateful and resilient, leaning on each other when we need to, and supporting each other however we can. Shabbat Shalom.